I'm going to bring you an update now because we've just found out that Shamima Begum has lost her appeal against the removal of her British passport. We're just getting that news into us now. We know this has been a 5-year ordeal to try and get that British passport back for her. So the Court of Appeal, as we know, has ruled now on Shamima Begum's bid to overturn the government's decision to strip her of her British citizenship, which she has now lost. As we know, she became known to the world in 2015, aged 15, when she left her home in London to travel to Syria to join Islamic State group. But as we have now found out, breaking news for you this morning is the fact that she has lost that appeal to get her British passport back this morning. And this has all happened in the Court of Appeal here in the UK.
Katie, thank you very much for that update. Stella, what's your reaction to that latest court hearing in relation to this case, which has been going on now for approaching a decade?
I'm disappointed to see this. I do not think the state should have the right to remove the British, to remove the citizenship of someone who was groomed when she was still a child. She was 15 years old when she made the trip to Syria. I think that this sets a very dangerous precedent. I do understand that it is not just Shamima Begum who has not been allowed to come back. It's actually a lot of people. I believe it's only 2 British citizens in the last few years that have been allowed to return from the refugee camps where they are settling. But at the same time, you're looking at all of these children who have been groomed online and they are not allowed to return. And you are thinking about their age and their development in that stage. And I simply think it's not fair. I think it sets a very bad precedent.
But Matthew, doesn't the government take a risk-based approach to this? So she lost her citizenship. Sajid Javid, who took it away from her, from memory, I think it was, she lost her citizenship because she represented a threat if she came back to the UK. Isn't that a reasonable risk-based decision for any government to make?
So I want to be careful not to double guess or criticise the judgment, because I wasn't in court.
Oh, we haven't seen it yet. We're just hearing about it.
But what I am here to do is hold our democratically elected government to account, and I thought it was a very, very poor and populist, we're talking about the mob, playing to the mob decision by Sajid Javid when he was Home Secretary. I think actually I would use the words to describe this as disgraceful and disgusting. This was someone who was groomed. This was someone who was at the age of 50. I mean, there are people who say she wasn't groomed, but she was 15 years old. She was, I think, still a child when she was taken as a bride by a member of Islamic State, which is an evil death cult. She has lost, I think, is it 3 of her own children? The human tragedy is extraordinary. She is used as a lightning rod by people who don't like Muslims. They'll say, oh, no, it's not about that. It's about not liking Islamic State. Which amongst us likes Islamic State? It is, as I say, an evil death cult. She's our responsibility. We've effectively made her stateless. She should be back in this country.
But if there's justice... Didn't she have dual nationality?
No, I think she had there was the option, theoretically, of becoming a Bangladeshi citizen, but Bangladesh said, quite understandably, no thanks, she's your problem, mate. She is our problem. If there's justice to be served, it should be faced in this country.
Matthew, wouldn't lots of people watch this show as sympathetic as they would be for the appalling human tragedy of Shamima Begum having lost those children and all of the appalling things that may have happened to her? Surely lots of people would say, to keep Britain safe, we must demonstrate that people's actions do have
Just 15, Jake.
No,
I'm 15 years old.
But then we must demonstrate that people's actions have consequences. And when that decision about her returning to the UK, of course, she wasn't 15 at the time, she was then legally an adult, the government made the decision on the basis that she still represented a threat. And if that hasn't changed, why should we bring people back to the UK?
Well, she's a threat here. She's a threat in Syria. So why on earth does she become Syria's problem? She's our problem, if she's anyone's problem. She was born here. She was British. She had her citizenship stripped of her. Outrageous.
Well, we shall have to wait and see as this story develops. But I do think, Stella, look, this will be, I think, quite a popular decision, but it seems that you're both coming down on the side of wrong.
Yes, I mean, again, as Matthew said, I do not like, without having seen exactly what happened, exactly the ruling, I do not like to suggest that the British court is wrong, because I do think that it is important that we continue to have trust in the British legal system. So
I think that, as I understand it, I think the difference we have to draw here is I don't believe that the British court has been making a decision on whether the facts of the case were right or wrong. It's actually whether the Home Secretary had the power to make the decision to strip someone.